Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Pranzata podcast. I am your host, Andrea Pranzatelli, and this is episode number 28 on my podcast. If you're new to this channel, this is a video podcast that I do here on YouTube. I typically interview local comedians, local musicians from the New Jersey, New York, and Philadelphia area, and sometimes I do solo podcasts like I am today, where I talk about my thoughts for the week, update you guys on my life, and I do a Q&A section at the end. So if you're into that kind of thing and you want to stick around for next week, don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit like, and don't forget to comment on anything that I like to talk about in the podcast. I like to cover sometimes like controversial topics, so I'm always open to friendly debate in the comment section. So leave your comments as I go on. And one more quick update before we get into this episode. I'm now going to be putting a timestamp section in the information section below. The information section. What do they call that section below? Somebody correct me on that in the comment section. The bio, whatever you call that thing below. I know sometimes on my Instagram account, I advertise specific topics. So if you came here for a specific thing, I thought it might be good, for you guys to be able to go to the timestamp and find the exact thing you're looking for. And same thing with the Q&A. If you're somebody who asked me a question and you're eager to see my response to your question, you can look at the timestamp for that as well. So that's going to be a new thing. Anyways, let's get into it. First of all, take note that Jazzy, I set Jazzy up with a little microphone because the last time I shot a podcast by myself, I have this chair next to me and Neo just jumped into the podcast. So I was like, I know one of these cats are going to jump in the podcast. So let me just set up a little microphone. It's not actually hooked in. You can't hear what they don't talk, but if they were going to meow, you can't hear them. But I thought it would be cute to just have them with their own little setup here when I do a solo podcast. Another thing before I get into the topics that I have written down for you guys today, this is probably going to be my last solo podcast for a while because I just put on my Instagram I was inquiring and I put in my Instagram story, if anybody would like to be on my podcast, just hit me up. And I got an overwhelming amount of responses. So I'm really excited about that. So I hope for those of you who really enjoy the solo episodes, this is probably going to be the last one for a while, for some time, because I have people booked every week up until December at this point. So we'll see. Maybe around January, I'll do another solo podcast, but this is what we have for today. So let's get right into it. So what are today's topics? As you guys know, I always have a lot on my mind. I always have a lot to talk about. So it's kind of hard for me to pick and choose what things I want to talk about, because I could probably ramble on for 5 or 6 hours. I'm not even kidding. So just so I don't drive you guys crazy with me talking for 6 hours straight, I picked specific things that I want to talk about today. The first thing I want to talk about today is beating phone addiction and beating social media addiction. This is a big goal for me. And the funny thing about it is that I know that this goal, even though it seems like it's a simple goal just to be on my phone less, I knew that it was going to be one of the hardest goals to accomplish. And I just knew going into it, I'm either just not going to accomplish this at all, or if I do accomplish it, it's going to be incredibly fucking hard. And it's going to be hard for me to beat my phone addiction that I have. So I feel like I finally got somewhere. I finally am getting somewhere with that. And so I kind of wanted to share that with you guys because I know a lot of my friends had reached out to me and they were like, hey, if you figure something out, if you find an app that helps you or whatever works for you, please talk about it because I'm struggling with the same exact thing. So I wanted to talk about that with you guys. So first of all, I've known for a while how bad me being on my phone has been affecting me. Just in general, I feel like I would say it's mainly social media, but it's not just social media. It's honestly just my phone. I feel like I can't concentrate on things the way I used to be able to concentrate on things. I always have my phone near me. I always have it next to me. I'll be practicing piano and have my phone on the music stand. And if somebody texts me, I answer right away. It's insane. I want to say I've become a master multitasker, but I don't even think that's true. I think I'm a shitty multitasker now. By the way, look at Jazzy right now. I feel like I used to be a good multitasker in the sense that I could focus on multiple different things at a time, but I feel like I feel like always having my phone near me has really fucked up my ability to focus on the things that I actually need to focus on. And one thing I've really been struggling with over the past few months is this constant feeling of like, I have so much to do and there's so little time and I'm not getting any younger, like type of thing. It's like, I have all these things I want to accomplish and there's only so much time in the day to accomplish those things. So I'm finally like on my phone way less. I've diminished my screen time a massive amount. My screen time before was embarrassing, but I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I want to say my screen time was somewhere around like 12 hours a day, if not more. I teach virtual lessons. So I feel like, okay, well, I have to be on my screen for that because I literally use my phone to teach. Oh, I'm kind of sad he's leaving, but he'll come back later. I use my phone to teach lessons. So it's like, okay, well, that kind of doesn't count because it's not like I'm diddly daddling on my phone while I'm teaching. But what about all the other hours a day? Because I don't teach for 12 hours a day. So it's just insane. I feel like the thing that has honestly pushed me to like really decide to actually do something about this, as stupid as this sounds, I started smoking weed recently. And I used to smoke when I was younger. And when I say younger, I mean like teenager years. And it was always fun. Like I always had a good time. I always laughed with my friends, that type of thing. But somehow like when I got older, I started getting a lot of really intense paranoia when I smoked weed. And that was like always something that was like a major shift. And I wasn't able to smoke after that. But there were people in my life and like things that I had read online or things that I heard from other people about how smoking really opened their mind to like songwriting and creative possibilities and that type of thing. So I was always like, maybe I'll revisit this one day. But even like as an adult, I had this thing where it was like, okay, I'm going to try smoking weed. Today's the day I'm going to do it. And I would do it like once a year, maybe once every 6 months. And I would always end up just having like this massive panic attack. So I was like, okay, I guess I just can't smoke weed. But I don't know what the shift was, but I finally like decided I was going to start smoking again. I was like, all right, this is my time. And I think it's because like I live on my own now. So I was like, if I get paranoid, like there's nobody here. So what does it matter? I'm just by myself. Which might be different for other people. Like other people might be like, no, I need people there in case I get paranoid. I get socially paranoid when I smoke. So for me, it's like the only times I had a chance to smoke before when I was with other people. So like now that I'm by myself, I went out of my way and it's legal now. So it's like a lot easier to do it. So I did get a lot of paranoia, but because I was by myself when I was smoking, I was somehow able to cope with it better. Like, cause like I said, there was nobody there to judge me. I didn't have this like impending doom that like people are going to judge me because I'm acting weird, whatever. So I've just been like really, taking in my thoughts, while I'm high. And when I scroll social media now, when I'm high, it becomes so like, I become so aware of how bad social media really is for you. And like I said, this is something I knew before, but it's like when I'm high, it is tenfold. I feel like I can see through more of the shit. It's no secret that social media is literally, and not, like I said, not even just social media, your phone, like your smartphone and all the apps, within it are built. Like the people who design this shit have studied psychology and know exactly what keeps you hooked. And they're constantly playing with things and constantly trying to figure out how to keep you more hooked. And one of the things, like when I was smoking, I really started paying attention to like how Instagram keeps messing with the stories. I hope I don't get banned for talking about this, because not the smoking part, but like the talking about Instagram. But I don't know. This is YouTube. I don't know if they're affiliated with Instagram. But I started really noticing like how the Instagram stories, it almost seems like every other day they change what it looks like when you view your story. So for example, one day you could like see exactly how many people viewed your story at the top. And then on some days you can't see it. And then on some days you can see like little bubbles of the top people who looked at your Instagram story. And then other days you can just see an eyeball and you have to tap on it. So like I said, when I smoke, I really take notice of all these little tiny details that keep changing on Instagram. And it's just like, it's so abundantly clear to me now. I'm like, holy shit, they are really just trying different things and they're seeing what sticks. Like they're trying out different things and they're trying to figure out like, okay, if we tweak this, maybe we'll get more people on here. If we tweak this, maybe we'll get more people on here, etc. So anyways, realizing that while I'm high kind of freaked me out. Like it kind of bugged me out. So, during the day when I'm sober, it suddenly become a lot easier to just step away from the phone and realize, me personally, I have a weird relationship with addictive things in the sense that I can indulge. And then one day I could just kind of like snap my finger and stop. And I kind of feel like that's how this sort of happened. I do have a list of things here that I think could help you stop your social media addiction. But I do think everybody is going to have to cut down on their smartphone and social media in their own way, because it's no different than any other drug. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's actually rehabs now for phones. Like there's actually like in AA, people go to AA for social media addiction, and people actually go to rehab. Like they go to drug rehab. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, the way you quit this drug, like social media or overusing your phone, is going to be different for you than it is for me. And I feel like for me, quitting like when I quit things like this, because for example, I used to smoke in the past, and it's just, for me, it's just a matter of just like, I snapped my fingers one day and was just like, I don't want to smoke anymore. Cigarettes, I mean. I was just like, I don't want to smoke anymore. And I just stopped. I didn't have to use any gum. I didn't have to go to any rehab or use any type of like medication or anything. I just like quit smoking. You know what I mean? For me, it was just like a decision I made to choose life. Like I was like, this shit is fucking up my life so bad. I can't focus on anything. And all this mysterious time in the day that I claim not to have, I can clearly see I'm spending on my phone. So it's like, I could free up so much time, like hours. Like, I mean, I could free up hours a day of time that I could be creating more, time that I could be cleaning my house, time that I could be working out. I mean, I do make time for all those things, but when I do those things, they never really feel like truly fulfilled the way they used to in the past. Like, because like I'll be at the gym, but like scrolling Instagram or checking my emails or texts, like in the middle of a set. So it's like, I'm not really focusing on my workout. Or like I said, if I'm practicing piano, it's like I have the phone on the side. If somebody texts me, I'll text them back really quick while I'm practicing piano. Like I'll literally like one hand play a line and then the other hand text a friend. It's like fucking insanity. And it's like, yeah, that's great. And it's good that I have that like multitasking ability, but it's like, no, I really need to focus on the piano and like wholeheartedly like give it my all and give it my whole soul and my whole spirit. So yeah, I don't know. It's really fucking me up, and it was fucking me up, and I'm finally like figuring this shit out. So like I said, I feel like you're going to have to find your own way to quit. And I really urge you to like really find a way to cut down, but I will give you some tips that did help me in case it helps you. First of all, turn off like every notification, like on every single app. Like turn off your turn off your Instagram direct message app. Turn off like when you get text messages, make it so they can't pop up on your screen. Make it that you have to like go out of your way to check it. I don't know, like and anytime you see a notification pop up, just because it's kind of hard to remember like all of them. It's impossible to remember like every single one that you have the notification set up on your phone. So basically what I did is like, as they come, I'll be like, oh, fuck this shit. And I'll go into my phone and turn it off. So I feel like that's a big step to get started. Turn off all your notifications. Another one is utilize airplane mode. I feel like, now when I go to the gym, I just turn on airplane mode, and I don't know, like you don't you don't need to make yourself so available all the time to your phone. You know, like this shit is robbing you of your joy. This shit is robbing you of your spirit, of your livelihood. Like you don't need to be so fucking available to it. So now what I do is like if I go to the gym, put it on, and don't get me wrong. Sometimes like I'll take a picture for my story and that type of thing, but then I put the shit on airplane mode. Honestly, those are the only like 2 tips I have for how to get started on quitting. But at the end of the day, like I said, for me, it was just like a decision. Like I was just like, I'm done. I'm fucking done being addicted to my phone. And by the way, when I say quitting, I didn't just like stop using social media or stop using my phone. I just mean like I'm making a commitment to myself, for myself, to really focus on the things that I'm doing in real life and only going to my phone when I choose to go to my phone, as opposed to making my phone like a part of my body, like a part of my, like another limb on my body. You know what I mean? So like when I practice piano, I'm practicing piano. When I work out, I work out. When I write music, I write music. When I write comedy, I write comedy. And then when I want to use my phone, then I use my phone. Like it's like another thing to do. And I even practice not using my phone when I'm eating. Like I want to enjoy my food. Like I don't want to be texting while I'm trying to take, or like Instagramming or scrolling like while I'm taking bites of my food. Or like if I'm petting my cat, I feel like I used to pet my cat in one hand and like scroll in the other hand. Like, no, I really want to be with my cats. When I'm with my friends, I don't pull my phone out anymore. Like I don't know what to say, man. When Neo's running all over the house. When I first wanted to quit this, I was looking for some like magic cure. Like I was like, maybe there's an app out there that literally stops you from using it. The only thing out there was like an app that tells you how much time you spent on your phone throughout the day. Like it'll warn you. It'll be like, hey, you just spent an hour on Instagram. Do you want to proceed? And you literally just like proceed. Like you just say, fuck this and proceed. So that was useless. I was looking for like literally some type of like thing I could set on my phone that was specifically like, okay, after 2 hours of Instagram or 1 hour, whatever, like you can't go on for another 12 hours or whatever. They didn't make anything like that. And why would they? Because if the purpose of this is to keep you hooked, why would they make something like that? Like there's probably, I'm sure Instagram and smartphone and all that, I'm sure they specifically set it up so that you don't have something like that, you know? So anyways, I don't know. I feel like I'm sorry if that came across as like mumbly and didn't make much sense. The reason for that is because, like I said, it's kind of abstract. Quitting an addiction is sort of an abstract thing. It's kind of like there's no easy way out and there's no like one solution for everybody. But all I can say is like I really want to convince you, if this is something that's controlling your life and you're finding like your well-being in life is being seriously affected by that, like I really urge you to find a plan to stop. Like either just do what I did and like cold turkey stop. But if that's not your thing, like go to a therapist. Like I'm not even kidding. Like get a therapist. Like this is serious shit. Like, you know, I don't know. Like I feel like I feel passionate about that because like it's something that we're all aware of and we all know, but we kind of just ignore. And it's like we all know how controlling the phones are over our focus and our well-being. So I don't know, something I want to talk about. I have a couple more things to talk about before the Q&A. Really quick, I want to tell you guys, I'm going to tell you this story really quick because it leads into the next topic. So the next topic is about transforming negative thoughts into positive ones. It's something that I've been actively working on over the past few months, and it's been very life-changing for me to do stuff like this. So I want to tell you a story about this Sunday where I basically had a horrible day, but I really tried to find the silver linings in it, and that's going to like lead to the next topic, you know what I mean? So this past Sunday, like a few days ago, I had a photo shoot planned with my sister. My sister's a photographer, and the last time she and I had done a photo shoot together, my hair was like up to my chin basically. And I think I had a photo shoot with not my sister, but with a guy that my hair was like a little past my chin, but it was still pretty short. And I feel like now my hair is finally getting long, and I want like updated photos to represent what I actually look like right now, you know? So I was like, hey sis, we need to do a photo shoot. And I was really looking forward to it because I feel like I'm looking, I probably don't look my best right now because it's like I've had a long work day and I'm not wearing any makeup or anything. But I just mean like in general, where I'm at in life right now, like I'm feeling very in shape. Like I put so much work into my fitness and I'm like happy with where I'm at fitness wise. I've been like eating really healthy and stuff. And like I've been trying to grow my hair out for so long and it's finally grown out. So I was like super fucking pumped. Like I'm going to kill this photo shoot, like whatever. So like I had put so much work into like I had picked my outfits out in advance, like done my like bought new makeup, bought a new hair dryer, you know, did my own hair, like took the day of the photo shoot. It took me like 3 hours to do my hair. It took me like an extra hour to do my makeup. If you're wondering why the fuck it would take me 3 hours to do my hair, it's because my hair is like pretty curly, but I wanted the curls to be like perfect. Like sometimes your natural curls are frizzy and I was like, I don't want to risk that. I'm just going to curl my curls like so that they're like perfect curls. And I didn't have like a fat curling iron. I had like a skinny curling iron. So I had to sit there and curl like each individual strand. And it was like a whole thing. It took forever. Like, you know, it's really hard. Like you can't see the back of your head. So I'm like with this like little tiny curling iron, like curling the back of my head, just like this whole thing. And not only that, but like I had like a workout plan the week before. I was doing like this drink elixir, which was like lemon juice and what the fuck was it? Apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, and something else, raw honey, like in hot water. And I was like drinking that every day for a week. I was like, my skin's gonna be good, my hair, my makeup, like I had a really nice outfit. And we were gonna drive to Hoboken so that I could have like a New York City skyline in the back, because like that's my goal right now, is to like spend a lot more time in New York City and then move to New York City next year. So, or like outside of it in like Jersey City or whatever. So like I kind of wanted a photo shoot to represent my dreams and where I'm at and like what I'm pushing for. Anyways, you get the idea. Like I put so much thought and work into it. So my sister and I, we planned it all out and we were like, we're going to get there when the lighting's like perfect, which is apparently usually like around sunset. I guess we didn't think this through because like if there's traffic, we should have gotten there way before sunset and just waited for the sunset to happen. So there was traffic, and keep in mind that from where I live in New Jersey, getting to Hoboken, which is like a small city in New Jersey, which is like right outside of New York City. It's like New York City area, but it's technically New Jersey. From where I live in New Jersey, it's only like a 45 to 50 minute drive, maybe. Like you can even, if you're really lucky, you can get there in like 40 to 45 minutes. And on like a bad day, you can get there in like an hour and 10 minutes if it's like really bad traffic. So, you know, we calculated that, like, but so let me just take a sip of water real quick. I've been trying to be like more cautious of my vocal health because I use my voice a lot. I do stand up, I teach, I do podcasting, like I sing. So if you notice I'm like speaking quieter or slower, I'm like trying to practice healthy vocal technique, and it's like a whole new thing I'm trying to get used to. So I'm like literally like I'm not speaking as quickly because I'm like pausing and taking breaths like in between, which is probably good. I'm sure you guys probably like sometimes I probably drive you crazy like how fast I could talk. So it's probably like in my head I feel like I'm talking so slow, but I'm probably just sound like a normal person or still pretty fast. But anyways, where was I? Oh, so yeah, we drove to Hoboken and we didn't make it to Hoboken. Obviously, that's where this is going. Apparently because of the flooding, like, I don't know, for those of you who listen to me, I know I have like a listener from Europe. I don't know where everybody's from, but in New Jersey, New York, East Coast, whatever, in the United States, we had a major flood, like seriously, like a hurricane, Ida, I don't know, IDA. I don't know how you pronounce it. Devastating, like flooded houses and towns in New Jersey and New York that aren't normally flood zones. There was like major flash floods that killed people, that actually killed one of my friends. So that was like pretty devastating. Whatever. It was like pretty bad. You guys get the point. I don't really want to get into that. But so because of that flood, I think the roads are all fucked up, like going into New York City now. So driving, I'm assuming that's what happened. I don't know for sure, but there was just such insane traffic on a Sunday. And we were like, what the fuck? Like it was like bumper to bumper, back to back. And we tried taking detours, and no matter what detour we took, like there was like you couldn't, there was no way around it. And so what was supposed to be like a 50 minute trip, we were in the car for 3 hours. So finally we were just like, it's like the sunset is gone. Like there's no way we're going to take pictures. We're not even going to get to Hoboken. This is like, it's going to take us like 8 hours to get to Hoboken. So why don't we just go home? So we turned back around. There was no traffic going back the other way. Where this is going though is, I was pretty pissed and bummed at first because like I said, I had put so much work into it. So I was so bummed. But then me and my sister, we went out for sushi together. We're like, let's just go out to dinner. And we had like such a great time, you know? And I don't know. I'm just like I said, I want to talk about like transforming negative thoughts into positive, but I feel like I could have chosen to just like curse the fucking world and be like, fuck my life, fuck me, the world is against me type of thing. But I was just like, I just didn't care. Like I was just, at first I cared, but then once like me and my sister had dinner together and we had so much fun, I was just like, I'm kind of glad it didn't work out. Like I really tried to see it like, okay, like now I had practice of what to do to have a perfect photo shoot. Like I know how to do my makeup now. I know how to do my hair. Next time it's going to come out so much faster. My cats are fighting right now. Next time it's going to come out so much faster. Sorry, I'm just laughing because like I don't know if any of that got in the shot, but that would be really funny. And like now I know, okay, if I want my check the traffic, if we're going to check the traffic in advance, if we're going to like a place that takes an hour drive, maybe plan to get there 2 hours early, you're better off waiting 2 hours and getting the perfect photos than getting nothing done. So I just really tried to look at like, okay, I learned this, I learned something from it. And at the end of it, I got to have an amazing dinner with my sister that we probably wouldn't have had before because we would have been busy taking the pictures. And then by the time we were done, it would have been late. Like she's a mother, she has to go home. So it was like fun. Like I had so much fun. And then to make matters worse, like if I was viewing it from a negative perspective, when I got home, apparently there was a leak in my roof. I live in an apartment building and I live on the bottom floor. In my bathroom, I'm probably going to post like, honestly, I might I think I'm going to edit in a video of what I came home to so you guys could like laugh with me about this. So yeah, I'm going to do that. So take a second here, watch this video.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been...
I went to straight to... Yeah, I would definitely text them. And,
So as you can see from that video, basically I came home from, which was actually a lovely dinner with my sister. But I came home from that lovely dinner to that disaster, which was basically, I guess there was a leak in my bathroom roof that I never noticed. Apparently it had been going on for a while, but it was so subtle that I never even noticed it. And I came home and the ceiling just like caved in. And I was so pissed. But again, here's how we transform this into something positive. I texted my neighbors, like we have like a little group chat going on, and I like showed them the video. Actually, in the video, you can like see the girl. I had taken a different video and sent it to them. In that video, there's like a chick in there that's one of my neighbors. I showed them pictures in like a video, and then they were all like, oh my God, like what can we do to help you? They were like all really responsive and they felt bad. So before you know it, I had like 4 or 5 neighbors in my house, and we were like hanging out, like just like laughing, having a good time. You know, one of my neighbors was like drinking a glass of wine with me. So again, it's like this, like what could have been like, oh my God, fuck my life. I realized like this bad thing brought me and my neighbors together, and we were having so much fun, and we were just like laughing and joking about the whole thing. So again, it's like, you know, the way you, there's no mistake that sometimes life sucks. Like life sucks sometimes, shitty things happen, but I really feel like as human beings, we have the power to really control how we have the power to like write a story about our day. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, 2 shitty things happened to me, but I really went out of my way to like find the silver lining in both of these situations. And I did. And so all of a sudden, like what started off as shitty things ended up being something that was like, oh, but all these shitty things brought me and my sister together and brought me and my neighbors together. So anyways, I really wanted to share that with you guys because this is going to lead into the next topic, which has been a lot on my mind, which is the power of alchemizing your negative thoughts into positive thoughts. So turning your negative thoughts into positive thoughts. So for those of you who already follow this podcast, on my last episode, I did a big talk about spiritual growth and me being on a spiritual journey right now. And one thing I've really been trying to do lately is just develop my well-being and my spirituality first, like first thing in the day before I really start my day. Before I do my workout, before I, you know, write any music or anything like that, I just try to really wake up, you know, have my morning coffee or whatever, and really like check in with myself and try to write things down and figure out how I can improve. I'm in therapy right now. I'm doing something called EMDR. Like I'm really trying to take care of my mental health and my mental well-being and everything like that. And one thing that I've been getting in the habit of doing that I really want to share with you guys. So I feel like anyone who's still listening to the podcast this far, I feel like this could really benefit a lot of people. I'll probably talk about it again because it's kind of new to me, but so turning your negative thoughts into positive ones. So what I do now is, okay, I feel like as human beings, we're kind of stupid, but we're kind of brilliant at the same time. So let me explain that a little deeper or a little further. I feel like as human beings, we're very robotic. We're very like programmed, almost like computers. For example, let's say somebody tried to shoot me or somebody tried to stab me when I was 8 years old and they were wearing all red. Now, as an adult, for the rest of my life, if I see somebody wearing all red, I'm going to now associate that red with danger. So now every time I see red, I freak out. You know what I mean? Like sort of thing. So that's what I mean. It's like, I feel like humans are stupid in the sense that we're just like programmed. And that's an extreme example. I'm not saying that a person like that would be stupid to be cautious. I'm just saying like there's little things that happen through us like in our lifetime. And this is like what therapy is, by the way. Like when you go to therapy, you really dive deep and like figure out those triggers and you figure out the root cause of those triggers and you try to change them as an adult. That's literally what therapy is. But we all experience it when we were little and our brains were developing. Anything that had like caused a trauma in our life, whatever could have been in those circumstances are now threats to us. And even as adults, we have a really hard time like breaking those patterns, and we then like have triggers throughout the day or, you know, throughout the weeks or whatever, like certain things that trigger us, make us angry, threaten us, threaten our well-being, make us feel insecure. And we have no idea sometimes like that things we don't even realize stem from our childhood, and we might not even be able to put a finger on it. So that's what I mean by humans are stupid. It's like we're stupid in the sense it's like we're like fucking computers. Like somebody programs this code like be afraid of this and then you'll be afraid of this. But this is where humans are brilliant. We are a species that has the power to wake up, I guess you could say, and break out of our computer programming. It's kind of like, okay, did anybody watch Westworld? It's kind of like we're the robots in Westworld. For those of you who've seen Westworld, I actually saw this TV show, the first season. And that says a lot for me because for those of you who already follow this podcast, I don't watch a lot of TV or watch a lot of movies. And that's like something I'm insecure about for some reason. And by the way, side note about that, I'm getting a couch and a TV for my old podcast room for those of you who don't know, and I'm really fucking excited. When I get it up there, I'm going to post a picture. I just ordered the couch and the TV, so it's coming. Literally going to be my first couch and my first TV that I've had in my adult life living on my own, which is insane because I'm 33. I've never had a couch and a TV. So I had like one like really, really tiny like box TV that I used to play video games on when I was in like 22 or 23, but I've never like had a big TV. Like I'm just like so excited about it. I'm just like, oh my God, like maybe I'll actually watch more shows and movies now. But anyways, I'll post a picture of that on my Instagram. You guys could check if you don't follow me on Instagram. It's Pranzata, Pranzata, literally the same thing as my podcast name. Anyways, where was I even going with this? Oh, okay, so it's almost like what I was saying. I got on a side tangent there, but what I was basically saying was like backtracking. I got so excited because I was like, I don't really even like TV or like TV shows, but I actually watched this TV show and loved it. So for me, that says a lot. Like I feel like if I like something, it has to be good for me to go out of my way to watch it. I loved Westworld. I loved the music. I loved the composer. I loved the whole fucking thing. And I feel like it's funny. Like I feel like as human beings, we are kind of like the robots in Westworld. Like I feel like it's like something made us and we're like dummies that are already pre-programmed, by something else. But like those Westworld robots, we have the power to be conscious of our own actions and our own programming, and we have the power to change our own programming. And like another side note, it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, are we just like as human beings, are we just like infinite mirrors or Russian dolls? Like, I don't know what you call that. If somebody knows the name of that put it in the comment section, but I don't know if there's like a term for that. It's like a thing inside of a thing inside of a thing that is just never ending. I'm like wondering if, like, as human beings, are we part of that structure? It's like God maybe created us and now we're creating robots. Like God created us, God's conscious, God created us. We're stupid. We become conscious, but we create robots. They're stupid, but then they become conscious and then robots create something else. Like, is it just like this never ending loop? But anyways, so it's like backtracking even more where this went, where this ended up and where this was supposed to go. It's like human beings were stupid. We just keep repeating these negative stories that come from childhood, and we repeat it our whole lives. We repeat it our whole lives like fucking computers, like robots. But we are also brilliant creatures because we do have the power to change those things as we get older, which is why I really recommend like therapy and trying to like dig deep and like catch your programming and try to reprogram yourself. So something that I've been doing to actively reprogram myself is, and we all do this, by the way, we all have a negative story that we tell over and over, that we've been telling ourselves our whole lives. I'll give you an example of mine. It's embarrassing, but I'll just talk about it. And I feel like this is kind of like a shallow one because I don't really feel comfortable getting into like the really deep ones with you guys on here, but I'll name like an easy one, like a shallow one, that I feel like a lot of women can relate to. In the past, I had an eating disorder and I've dealt with like body dysmorphia. And one of the negative thoughts I had that I think was like a thought that I would have during my eating disorder and during my body dysmorphia, I always thought like my stomach was huge, like no matter. And I almost think that was like one of the reasons why I like ended up with an eating disorder, because I would, and it was because of body dysmorphia. I would look in the mirror and I would, no matter how fit I was, I wouldn't like see the big picture. Like I wouldn't see the whole me. I would just like zero in on my flaws. You know what I mean? And I've never been somebody with like a really flat stomach. I feel like I have like big hips, you know, like you know, even for like a slimmer woman, I feel like my hips are pretty big, my thighs are pretty big, and like I don't have like a huge stomach, but I've just never had like a really flat stomach. And I feel like a lot of women have that too, because it's just part of being a fucking woman. Like we carry fat more than men, and I feel like we carry this little like pouch or whatever. So a negative thought I had my whole life was like I would be so pretty if I just had a flat stomach. Like oh, I'm fit, but I have a fat stomach. Like, oh, so this is a negative thought I told myself for years and years and years. So now what I do is every morning I journal, and if I have any negative thoughts that I can think that I had like that day or the day before, I immediately write them down, and I automatically try to think of a different explanation for that thought. So here's how you do it. So this is how you alchemize your thoughts, negative into positive. So for example, let's say the thought is, oh my God, I would be so pretty if I had a flat stomach or whatever. My body's fit, but I don't have a flat stomach, whatever. Write it down. What's your negative thought? You would write down, you know, there's a bunch of different thoughts you could have with that. So I could say, my negative thought that I could write down is, I am not beautiful because my stomach is big. I could say that. Now you take the thought and you completely flip it around into something positive. I have a very womanly figure, and my stomach, let me make this clear, by the way. You would never write like, oh, I just have a flat stomach. Like that's not how it works. You have to take the thought that you have and flip it. Like it kind of has to be the same thought, but the positive angle. So you would say, my stomach isn't, you would write down maybe like, my stomach isn't completely flat, but it is so beautiful because it just carries this image of a motherly figure. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's like a good like example, but like that's actually one that I wrote where some of you out there, like girls listening, you might like not be complimented by being called motherly, but like I guess what I'm trying to say is like okay, how do I explain it? It worked for me, so just know it worked for me. But it's kind of like the reason why you have to keep the same thought is because like you can't lie to yourself. That's the thing with these like positive affirmations. Like sometimes they don't really feel like, to me, those like positive affirmations, like if I just say I'm skinny and beautiful, like if I don't think I have a flat stomach or whatever, like that's not going to work for me. Like, cause I'll be like, well, that's not true. I have a fat stomach. So for me, it has to be like, okay, what if you acknowledge you have a quote unquote fat stomach, but just call it something different? And that's how it works for me. So it's like, for me, what worked was like, my stomach isn't flat, but it just has this energy of like motherliness or nurturingness, like mother nature type of thing. And it's so beautiful. And it just like, it's almost like, you know, like I said, like the childbearing hips of a woman and the breasts of a woman, the stomach, it like carries the life of a child. And you know, I don't have a flat stomach, but what I have is so beautiful, and men find it so sexy, and women are drawn to it. It's just, it's amazing, you know? And here's the thing. I don't want to come across as arrogant. The way I look at it is like, you're going to lie to yourself and tell yourself this bullshit anyways. Like you're going to tell yourself I'm fat, I'm this and that. So you might as well tell yourself some bullshit that is positive. You know what I mean? You don't want to become arrogant in the process, but it's like you're already telling yourself these stories. So why don't you just make the story positive? You know what I mean? So okay, that's what worked for me. You kind of have to find what works for you. Here's another example I could say. Like, I feel like I've been struggling to find men. Like I'm not struggling to find men. I'm struggling to find a man. I'm struggling to find a situation that works, and I'm struggling to find a boyfriend. Let's just make it simple. And there isn't a shortage of men who want to like hook up, trust me. But it's hard to find a man who wants to settle down, you know? So a negative thought I could have about that is like, there's no good men left. Like, that could be the negative thought. You know, there's no good men left. All the men suck. They fucking suck. Here's the positive thought. Okay. And again, I can't use this positive affirmation that I don't believe because I don't believe it. I can't say there's amazing men everywhere because I don't really believe that. But what I could say is that the negative thought is, there's no good men out there. Here's how you make it positive. You could say, this is like actually not my line. This is like already existed. You could say like, you have to, what's the old classic line? You have to kiss a bunch of frogs to find the prince. Like, you know what I mean? That could be like the way you turn that around. It's like, yeah, there's some bad ones out there, but those are the steps you have to take to find the one you actually want to be with, like, type of thing. So that's what I do now. It's like whatever negative thought I have, I just try to, I don't try to lie to myself, but I try to just spin it around and find like, okay, how can I turn this into something positive for me? How can I take this exact same thing, but just flip it in a way that actually serves me instead of makes me feel like shit? So now, like I said, like with that thought, it's like, well, I did meet a bunch of bad men. That's true. I don't want to say bad men, but you know what I mean? I did meet a bunch of situations that didn't work out. But that's because I'm on the journey to find the one that will. And, you know, I had to kiss the frogs to get the prince, and I kissed the frogs. It's one step closer to the prince. You know what I mean? So it's like, so you really have to find your own version of this. And I really recommend this. I feel like this has been life-changing for me. It's just like, where's the silver lining? Life is shit sometimes, but how could you turn that shit into gold? How can you alchemize your thoughts? How can you take your thoughts and kind of keep them the same, but just find the positive angle, find the positive spin, and turn it into something completely different? So I don't know. I wanted to share that with you guys. It's been really life-changing for me. And Jesse came back. Okay, we're going to do the Q&A in a second. I have a couple questions that I want to answer for you guys. One more topic. Let's see. I had one more thing. Oh, because I've been doing a lot of spiritual talk, I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind as well with that. I'm going to make it quick because I want to get to the Q&A, but one thing I've noticed, and it's been a mistake that I've made in the past, on your journey to bettering yourself, which is what I've been doing the past couple months, bettering my spirit and my mental health and my spiritual well-being, you will start to essentially become more attractive. And I don't mean like sexually, like it could include sexually, but what I mean is like you will start to attract more situations, attract more people, attract more things into your life. What I didn't know years ago, because like I said, your spiritual journey has ups and downs. You're going to go through high spiritual points in your life, and you're going to go through low spiritual points in your life. It's part of being a human. What I've learned in the past, when I was in some of my higher spiritual points, and then I kind of like pivoted downwards, because now you are more attractive, you're attracting more things into your life. You attract all kinds of energy, and not all of it is good. You're going to attract great things, but because you're glowing, because you're full of life, and people can kind of like sense a new, people can kind of sense like a new attitude that you have, or like a new confidence, or a new calmness, or like a peacefulness. They want to be close to that. And what happens is sometimes you end up attracting people that you may not want to attract. And then sometimes like your kindness or your lovingness might follow that. And then that could deter you off the path. If you're the type of person who's easily affected by other like people, if you're the type of person who can, and by the way, I think I do think that's like another spiritual like thing to work on, is learning how to give love to people, and when they're negative back, like still being able to love them and move on. That's not something I've personally learned yet. So I feel like if you're like me and you're the type of person who, if people are negative towards you, it does kind of hurt you and kind of bring you down. You kind of need to guard yourself and shield yourself. So I'm going to give you an example. Not that this person was negative, but like it really pissed me the fuck off. So I was out running errands and I ended up talking to this lady, and she was really, really nice to me. And she was asking me what I do for a living, and yada, yada, whatever. And I told her I, was a musician. I taught piano lessons. And she was like, oh my God, do you have a business card? And I was like, yeah, I do actually. So I gave her my business card and we exchanged numbers. She's like, yeah, you just never know. Like, if I want piano lessons or whatever, or need a musician for a music event. And I was like, oh my God, super excited. The next day, the fucking lady calls me on the phone, and I'm thinking like, oh, she wants piano lessons for her kids or a music event booked or something. Like she needs something that's amazing. She calls me and she asks me, she did offer to pay, but still I thought it was weird. She was like, hey, what are you up to right now? Like, first of all, we're not buddies. Like, you don't call me and ask me what I'm up to right now. Like I understand we exchange numbers, but like we never established each other as friends. Like, I'm a professional. Like I said, here's my business card. I didn't give you my number as like a friend. Like, it's a business card. You know what I mean? She's like, hey, what are you up to? Hanging out? Blah, blah, like kind of getting personal with me. And then she was like, can I offer you a couple bucks to like bring me to my job? And I'm like, what the I'm like, no, like I didn't say it like that. Like, I was calm on the phone, but I'm like, I just met you yesterday. Like, how fucking rude. And then I told her no. I kind of made something up, to be honest, but I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I have construction workers at my house and I have to stay with them, which wasn't true at all. I just made it up. And then she started like just like talking to me. She was just like, oh, what are you up to? I took the dog out. And I'm just like she was talking about her dog and shit. And I was just like, so, okay, that's what I'm trying to say is like, when you're doing well, when you're working on yourself, you're going to attract all kinds of crazies and all kinds of people who want to be near you. Like, all of a sudden, like, you're going to attract all kinds of people. And I know I'm not there yet to the point where I could like be friends with somebody like that. I would probably like snap at some point. So I know that about myself. So I have to protect myself in that kind of way. There's other people like my ex-boyfriend, Robbie, I will just talk about it. He's like the kind of person who could literally be friends with everybody and it doesn't affect his energy. He's like, his spirit is so friendly and so warm. Like, he literally has the power to just like love everybody. I don't have that power. So with this lady, I'm just like, okay, I'm just like, this lady's gonna piss me off. I need to protect my energy in that kind of way. I need to not take her phone calls anymore. You know what I mean? So that's something I had to do for myself. And I just wanted to point that out, that when you're working on yourself and you're becoming more attractive and you're giving out more light that is attractive to other people, you're going to attract all kinds of people. Like, good, you're going to attract great situations, but you're also going to attract bad situations. And you're going to, because now you're such a positive source of energy, people are going to want to like feed off of you. Like, people are going to like get some of your energy, especially ones that don't know how to find the energy within themselves. And that's not always a bad thing. There is going to be a time and place where you should help people. And I think that's something I'm learning as well, is like, I want to be more loving and want to be more giving to people. But you do need to like recognize what type of giving you're willing to give and who you're willing to give to. And this lady, like, I'm not going to give her a ride to her job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know her like that. It's just like, I just felt like she was kind of intruding on my privacy, on my space, on my time. I didn't appreciate that. But anyways, I just wanted to point that out. If anybody else out there is like working on themselves in any type of way, just be aware that when you attract energy, you're going to attract all kinds of energy, and it's not always the good kind. And just kind of watch out for that. And, know your own boundaries. Like I said, somebody like a Robbie who's super loving, like, he might be able to get away with like looser boundaries because things don't affect him like that. But if you're somebody and you know that things affect you like that, you might need to set stricter boundaries with yourself. Everybody's completely different in like what kind of boundaries like they need to set. It's like completely different for each person. I wanted to bring that up to you guys. So next, on to the Q&A section. I got some pretty interesting questions, so I'm really excited to talk to you guys about them. Okay, question number 1 is by my friend Alejandro Ataucusi. He actually asked a question the last time. So, and he was on my podcast, by the way. He was like the first or second or third episode. Second episode. So he goes way back. He's a Peruvian guitarist, really talented dude. So Alejandro asks me, can you experience music with no sound? And then he writes in parentheses, I already know the answer. I just want to know what you think. I think this is like a arrogantly phrased question. That you want to know what I think, like you already know the answer and you want to know what I think. I think that it's like, are you my professor, like trying to like test my skills? But I'll give you my answer. The reason I think this is an arrogantly phrased question, because I feel like it's one of those things that it's like, well, philosophically, if there's silence, then there's harmonies within nature. I feel like it's got like an arrogant answer. Like there's like a technical answer that probably exists. I also think that you wouldn't be asking me this question if your answer, I feel like your answer is probably yes, music can exist without sound. Otherwise, why would you even ask me the question? You know what I mean? Like, or maybe that's an arrogant thought I'm having. Either you're asking an arrogant question or I'm having an arrogant response. I don't know which one it is, but I'll give you my response. I don't think so. I think silence is effective within a song. Like, I call them stops within music. I'm obsessed with them. Anybody who's worked with me in a band situation, like, you know, I've been like the lead singer in a couple different bands before, and the band knows I'm obsessed with stops. Like, I think they're sexy. They're like teasing. For those of you who aren't like music geeks, I feel like I'm really bad at like thinking of examples on the spot, but think of a song, you know, because I feel like there's a bunch out there, or like even if you can't think of a specific song, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's songs, and then within the song there'll be like a sudden just like stop, and then the music comes back all of a sudden. It just kind of like keeps, think of it this way. It's kind of like, imagine you're watching a horror movie. I hate saying horror movie. I always feel like I'm saying horror. It's like it's such a difficult word to pronounce. Horror. It's like when you're watching a horror movie, and like there's that like sudden silence, and then the sudden like the guy jumps at you type of thing. Not that like it's intended to scare you in music. I feel like in music it's almost like a tease. It's almost like someone was going down on you and then they just like stopped and then returned to it type of thing. It's such like a sexy, amazing effect within music. So I think silence within music is amazing. But if you're talking like, was it John Cage? I think it was composer John Cage who did this like experimental. By the way, this will be interesting for those of you who never heard about this. There was this composer, John Cage. I believe he was in like the early 1900s, I want to say. I believe it was like the early 1900s. John Cage, he did this like, he was like a very experimental composer, and he did this thing where he like put this like whole concert together, and he invited people, and obviously he invited people. He like invited a bunch of people to this whole concert. They bought tickets, paid for tickets, sat in their chairs, and what he did was he didn't, there was complete silence for like how long the show was, like 40 minutes or an hour or whatever. And like there was such a mixed reaction from the crowd. Like some people were pissed and want their money back, and some people were like, oh, I get it, it's genius. I find that shit, like, I just find it arrogant. I don't know, like, no, I don't think that's music. I don't care if there's like a technical answer that it's like, but within nature there's harmony. Like I came here for a fucking song, come on. But I do think the use of silence I think the use of silence in a song is amazing. So in that sense, like silence is an amazing musical tool, but it's within the context of a song. Like I don't think you can just like have nothing and call that music. I don't know. But maybe I'm being closed-minded about it. I'm not a fan of that like way of thinking, but I do understand how like you can philosophize it and like break it down in a way that makes it like true. But I just don't buy it. So that's my answer. No, I don't think you can have music with no sound unless you use silence and stops within your song as a dramatic effect, which is my favorite effect. But yeah. Next question. Osborne 586 asks me, this is a really good question. Should people be good at handling rejection? Are there different kinds of rejection? Yes and yes. You should definitely be good at handling rejection. Stand-up has taught me that. And this person who asks me this is a stand-up comedian. So you definitely should, that, that we're in the business of rejection, of professional rejection. Because the beginning phases, and I'm in the beginning phase of becoming a stand-up comedian. It's very hit or miss, mostly miss with the success in the audience. But when you do get those hits, it's such a good feeling. So I would say right now, where I'm at, like, I never like wrote it down, but I would say statistically for every show that I do, if I did 10 shows, I feel like for every 10 shows, you probably do bad at least 4. You probably do okay for most of the rest of them, and you probably kill 2 of them. So it's like, if 2, maybe 1. But I feel like it's that 1 or 2 that keeps you fucking hooked and makes you want to figure out how to kill 5 out of 10, kill 8 out of 10, kill 10 out of 10. But like in the beginning phases of being a comic, it's like you're going to bomb like at least 50% of the time. So it's like you're constantly being rejected. You're just like facing, but within that rejection, it really humbles you and it really teaches you to carry that rejection in other areas of your life. And this kind of leads into, I don't want to get into the second part of the question before I thoroughly answer the first part. Like, should you be good at handling rejection? I didn't really answer that. I just explained why stand-up has rejection. Yes, you should be good at handling rejection. Well, for obvious reasons in stand-up, because it just gets you back out there. But you can really carry that into other areas of your life, and you should be good at it, because it's like, if you can kind of remove yourself from the equation, and you just build so much more confidence when you humble yourself in situations and kind of really realize, like, it's not always about, well, I don't want to say it's not always about you, because like it kind of is about you, but in the big scheme of things, that doesn't matter. So for example, it's like if you fail at a comedy show and you completely bomb, for example, that's like a kind of social rejection. The crowd is rejecting you. They don't think you're funny. It could be the crowd. Like, one could argue like the crowd sucks, but really the weight is on you, because it's your job to read the crowd and try to figure out like what they think is funny. You know what I mean? Some comedians would argue otherwise. They'd say like, no, my jokes are my jokes and I have to find the crowd for me. But really good comedians will say like, it's your job to read the room and try to like win them over, type of thing. So it's like, yes, it is you. It's like, well, yeah, it is you, because you're the one who's fucking up. But remove you from you, in the sense that it's like, you're only going to get better if you're really only going to get better if you can just kind of like calmly accept that and realize in the big scheme of things, like, yes, you could improve, but it really doesn't matter in the big scheme of things. Like, these people are going to go home and forget about you. You know what I mean? Like, they probably already forgot about you. Like, the second they probably were like, well, that kind of sucks. Anyways, what do you want for dinner? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's you, but it really doesn't matter. You really don't matter in the big scheme of things. So, by being able to like take rejection like a fucking boss, like, it's going to take you so far in life. Like, and again, now, so yes, you should be good at handling rejection. Now, what other kinds of rejection? There could be business, like work rejection type of situations where it's like you wanted a promotion, you got rejected, or you applied for a job and got rejected. Friendship rejection. There could be like you wanted to be friends with somebody and they didn't like you back. Romantic rejection. There could be a girl or a guy you like and they don't want to. Whatever. I'll tell you this. I've dealt with a lot of romantic rejection this year, in the sense that, like I said earlier in the podcast, as a female getting rejected romantically is very different from the male version of that. Like, you're always going to get laid as a female. That's never the problem. But for the female, it's like finding the guy who wants to like settle down, like start a life with you. That's the type of rejection. So it's like, there's no shortage of getting ass in the female world, but like, that's easy. But like, our type of rejection is like, yeah, we know we can get ass, but now we want to take things further. Like, now we want to start a life with you, make things official type of thing. And like, this year I've experienced a lot of rejection in that category. And honest to God, like, it hurts, but going through it and just like getting better at it, it's kind of like, all right, like I'm kind of like, I've heard that men, like, because like like I said, for women, you can get laid so much easier. For men, it's like the chances of getting laid can be slimmer, depending on, I mean, if you're like a super hot guy, it's probably pretty easy for you. But like, I would say the majority of men, I've heard what men say is like, they just got to keep going out there and trying to the point where they don't even like give a fuck about rejection anymore. I've been kind of like trying to carry that approach over to like I said, like my search for someone who wants to like settle down. I'm kind of like taking a more masculine approach to that, and kind of like taking my attitude that I learned from stand-up and being like, well, that one didn't work, let's go to the next. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, I really think it's important to develop that attitude, like that kind of like, I don't give a fuck if I just got rejected. Like, some people will say this too. One of my friends says this. He says that life is a numbers game, meaning like, you don't really have to take shit personal all the time. Like, it's not always about basically stop wasting your fucking time like trying to analyze everything. It's a fucking numbers game. You tried this one, didn't work, roll the dice, go again. Tried, didn't work, roll the dice, go again. I don't 100% believe it. I do believe that like life isn't always a numbers game, but I do feel like I understand why adapting that mentality is good. So yeah, to answer your questions, like in a simplified version, after all that, yes, it's so good to be able to handle rejection. You should be able to handle rejection and realize that it's like, it's about you in the sense that you can improve, but in the big scheme of things, like it doesn't matter that you need to improve, just improve and shut the fuck up. And yes, there's a lot of different types of rejection. Like, I'm probably missing a bunch, but the ones I can think of are like work rejection, romantic rejection, friendship rejection, career rejection. Yeah, there's like so many different types. Family rejection. You can be like ostracized from your family. But I guess at the end of the day, you can kind of like encapsulate that all as like social rejection, because like it's like people. But yeah, I think that was a really good question. I like talking about that stuff, so I really appreciate that question. Quick reminder, guys, anyone who's like listening to this part of the podcast, comment on anything I'm saying if you don't agree with me. Like if you're like, nah, bitch, like you're missing this, or I don't agree with that, comment. I want to know what you think. Next question. I also love this question. This is so good. Jazzy came back. I love this question. It's one that I think about a lot and I don't 100% know the answer to, which is why I love the question so much, because I love questions that I could like really break down, and I like a debate. Like I like to debate myself in my own head sometimes. So it's like, that's why I love podcasting, because I love when people are here to interview. Sorry, Jazzy can't debate with me. I love having people here to interview to like discover things, you know what I mean? So his question, I just like rambled on into this question. I didn't even give you guys a question. So Jordan McKinley, he's also a stand-up comedian. He asks me, do you think eating more whole foods positively impacts your comedy? I think he's asking like my specific comedy. I don't know if he means like rhetorically like everybody's comedy, or like my comedy specifically, but I'll kind of answer both, I guess. So let me just repeat the question. Do you think eating more whole foods positively impacts your comedy? So I post, like, he follows me on Instagram. I post a lot of, I used to post a lot of food pictures on my feed, but now I just leave it to my stories and stuff like that. Because like I didn't like how it looked in the feed like I used to, but I'm like, oh, I don't really like the way it looks. I'll just save it for the stories. But I like to cook healthy. I eat pretty much all whole foods. I really go into that. But this question, do you think eating more whole foods positively impacts your comedy? For me, yes. I think for me, 100%. But I'm as much of as like a food, like health junkie I'm not 100% sure if that's true for everybody. I do think comedy is one of those careers that you don't necessarily need to be fit, beautiful to be a good comedian. And sometimes depending on the person, it's like that's why I love this like career. Like that's why I love this career, because I think it's like I think it's a career that brings out the individuality in every single person. So for example, some of my favorite comedians are very out of shape, and they seem to be fucking killing it the way they are. So I don't recommend they change their diet. Some notable examples would be Miss Pat. I'm a huge fan of Miss Pat. She just put out a TV series and she openly like talks about her like Chick-fil-A addiction. So Miss Pat is one. She's like, you know, heavy woman. She doesn't like hide it. Like she talks about it all the time, talks about her, you know, food addiction to Chick-fil-A. So fucking funny. I wouldn't change a thing about her. So clearly like she doesn't need no Whole Foods. Tim Dillon is, I would say he's probably my top 5 favorite comedians. I don't want to say he might be my favorite, but I haven't really thought about it, but he's definitely like my top 5 favorite. Again, he's like very open about not being healthy. Like he wants to lose weight, especially because of COVID. He's like, I think he's worried about COVID. He wants to get to a point where he could lose some weight. I kind of like him fat because I think there's just, that's selfish of me. Like, it's like, well, if he's worried about his life and his future, who's to say he can't be just as funny if he's in shape? But like, so fucking funny. Like, you know, there's like Roseanne. That's another classic example. Joey Diaz. So I actually heard this on the Joe Rogan podcast. Apparently Joey Diaz didn't become funny until he got fat. Like, so, I mean, like, let me backtrack. It's not that he wasn't funny. It's just that he blew up when he got fat. No pun intended. He blew up career-wise when he got fat. Like, so apparently he was trying to be a comedian, wasn't like really making it. And then he kind of just like gave up and was like, fuck it. Like, and he just gained a bunch of weight, started like smoking cigars and like, well, I think he always did that, but you know what I mean? Like he just kind of like embraced this character of this like fat cigar smoking like dude, and then he fucking took off. So it's like, I don't know, like I really think it's a very highly individual pursuit. Me personally, I'm hypersensitive, like in the sense that like all around, like emotionally, physically, and because my physical being is so sensitive, like what I mean is like I get a hangover really fast. I don't know, like if I don't get a good night's sleep, I can't function the next day. Whatever, like I'm just like, I have a very sensitive body. So I personally feel like because my body is so sensitive, I really need to take care of it as best as I could to really focus, to really put in my grind, to really put in my work. Like I need to be on point, sharp, in good shape. And there's other comedians like me who part of them being successful is that poignancy, is that like sharpness. Eliza Schlesinger, you know, I feel like now that she's dating a chef, she's probably like, well, married to a chef, having a baby with a chef, she's probably a little more relaxed and lenient now with her diet. Like, come on, you have like a chef as a husband, you know, you're gonna have to eat some of his stuff. But I feel like in the beginning of her career, like when she was like taking off, I feel like she was like a very fit, like very type A type of personality. Whitney Cummings is a lot more lenient now with her diet, but at one point she had like an eating disorder. Not that that's like Whole Foods, but she was very like, I want to stay fit, type of mentality sort of thing. And there's males out there too. Like I'm naming mostly females because I feel like, you know, wanting to stay fit and pretty is like either a gay guy thing or like a female thing. But, you know, that's not to stereotype. There are some straight men as well that are like really on point with their fitness in the comedy game. I can't think of any names off the top of my head, but I do know they're out there because I've seen them. And I was actually talking about this with another podcast guest. So, okay. So to answer your question, I really think I'm a big believer in health and wellness, but I do think comedy is one of those fields where it is highly individualized and it's going to be different for every person. I need to eat well and feel well in order to do my best in comedy. That's just me. But there's definitely people out there that it's like what they're doing is fucking working. I do have a quote that might help like solve this, I guess. So, okay, so there's this, I don't remember who said it. I want to say it's like I feel like it was Thomas Edison. It could have been Thomas Edison. I'm probably fucking that up. But the quote is the important part. There's a quote out there that said, so a lot. Okay, so here's an argument that a lot of people make. It's an argument that I heard in music school a lot, but it's an argument about school in general. A lot of people will say like the argument that they'll make is like, why do I need to educate myself? All the great geniuses didn't have an education. And then I want to say it was Thomas Edison, but I'm not, don't like quote me on that. But if you know who said it, write it in the comment section below for me, please, because I feel like I'm fucking it up. But I think it was Thomas Edison. He said, yes, all the great geniuses didn't need an education. However, I'm not one of those geniuses and you're not one of those geniuses, so get a fucking education. He didn't include the fucking, I added that one. But so you can kind of apply that to this situation. It's like all the great geniuses in comedy, they didn't need to watch their health. They could be fat. They're fucking funny. I'm not one of those great geniuses. I need to be on fucking point so I can like write like these genius ideas aren't just pouring out of my fat pores like naturally. I have to feel good and I really have to focus. That's me personally. So again, it's very highly individualized. So if you're kind of wondering for yourself, like, oh shit, should I be cleaning up my diet to get my comedy? It's really, you kind of have to play around with that on your own. I feel like it could like make or break you. It could be that like your natural, like the way you are, exactly the way you are is part of what makes you funny. Or you could be like going back to that Thomas Edison quote, you could be one of those people that are like, yeah, the great geniuses didn't need to work on XYZ, but I'm not one of the great geniuses, so I have to do it. So I think you need to like toy around and figure out like who you are and what works for you. I know for a fact that like I need to feel well in order for it to work for me, but I also know for a fact that some people out there, like they're doing it just the way they are, and sometimes that includes being unhealthy, which is sometimes a shame because then like a lot of comedians or even musicians for that matter could die young, like because they didn't take care of their health. Like sometimes it's not always like from overeating, sometimes it's from drugs, like, you know, drug overdose or suicide or, you know, different things like that. But it's like, but then you kind of wonder, it's like, but would that work have existed if they didn't have that wild lifestyle? You really never know, you know? But then at the same time, and again, this is one of those questions that I don't 100% know the answer to. Like my mind keeps like going back and forth, but it's like, but then again, what if they could have lived longer and made some brilliant shit down the road that they never got a chance to because they didn't take care of their health? I don't know. I really don't know, but I don't know, man. I want to say it's highly individualized. That's why I love this. I love questions without answers. So it's like, that's a tough question to answer. What are your thoughts? Like people who are listening to this, drop your comment in the comment section below. Do you think that like, for certain types of artists, and it doesn't have to be just food. It could be like going back to the musician thing, like doing drugs and stuff. So like healthy food, drugs, yes, no. Do you think that like cleaning up your act, whether it's your diet for comedians or like your drugs or whatever for musicians and other artists, do you think that impacts your comedy or your music and all that stuff like that? I kind of want to know what you guys think about that. I don't know. I want to lean towards it's just on an individualized basis, but I'm not 100% sure. I do have one more question. It's from my friend Trippin Through Europe. That's actually my European listener. He asks me, do I read many books? I feel like he's going to be disappointed in my answer, but the truth is no, I don't. I do have like a big bookshelf with a lot of books on it. Let me clarify that those are non-fiction books. Like they're educational books, like piano books. So I do a lot of that. Like I read piano scores and stuff like that, classical music, Spanish books, like as far as like learning Spanish. So I do a lot of non-fiction books. I do a lot of like educational type books. I do have a small section on the bottom of books that I would like to read one day. Books that really interest me, but I really, if it's not that those are fiction, because to be honest, I don't think I'll ever, you can barely get me to watch a movie. Don't think I'm going to sit here and read a story book, like a fiction book. No, it's not going to happen. But there are like books that aren't, just educational books. There are books out there written by authors that are more like philosophical, I guess you could say, that I would love to read. I'll be honest, I really struggle to focus when I'm reading. I'm not, I'm the type of person who has to read a sentence over and over like 100 times before it really sinks in. So I do well with audiobooks. I read a few audiobooks this year, like while I was driving around and doing my DoorDash deliveries. So audiobooks are key for me. Like I do discover right now I'm doing like Think and Grow Rich. That's one that I'm getting into, but I'm not reading it. I'm doing an audiobook version. So any books that are converted into the audio version, that's like key for me. So if anyone has any like audiobook recommendations that you think I would like, not stories, I don't want to hear stories. But anything else like something interesting that you think might pique my interest, drop that in the comment section. But yeah, I wish I could say that I was a reader. I'm really not. I wish I was. It's just like for me, it's a matter of lacking the ability to focus. Like my mind just gets so distracted. Anyways, guys, that's it for today. This is the Pranzata podcast, episode number 28. I had a lot of fun on this podcast. And like I said, this is probably going to be my last solo podcast for a while. So I'm really a little sad about that because I like these solo podcasts and I like my Q&As. Maybe I'll do something where I do a Q&A with the guests. Like I'll say, hey, so-and-so's coming here. Drop a Q&A, like if you'd like us to discuss something that you're curious about, whether it's that person or it's just like you want to know our opinion in general, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I'll do something like that because I really like the Q&A section. But yeah, that was it. This is the Pranzata podcast. Again, if you're new to this channel, if you liked what you heard today, if you're interested in this type of thing, don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to comment on anything that you agreed with or disagreed with in the podcast. I'm really interested in that. And again, I'm going to be interviewing somebody next week. I interview comedians, musicians, local artists and entrepreneurs in New Jersey, New York, and Philadelphia. This is the Pranzata podcast. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Bye.